Godot has many amazing features, but one that pops out when exporting your game is PCK Encryption. This allows you to export your game scenes, scripts, and other resources to be encrypted and not in plain text. In this video, we are going to see how W4Build allows you to do this with a few steps. Let's first understand what PCK encryption means. In order to encrypt your game assets when exported, we need to compile Godot export templates to include an encryption key. Then use these new templates to export your game. Encrypting your game does not work if you are using the official export templates. The reason is that these templates are not distributed with an encryption key. Let's begin. In order to do this, we need to go to projects and connect our GitHub provider. We're going to import two projects, Godot and a game. So you click connect, select your GitHub account, and select the repositories that we are going to import into W4Build. First, we're going to import Godot. In here, we have a fork of Godot that is updated with the upstream project. And then we are going to import the project or the game that we want to export with PCK encryption. In this case, I have a project that is called Godot Test. Godot Test project. Now we selected the two repositories that we want to build and we click install and authorized. Now we see that we have imported the two projects. Now, the first step is to compile Godot. To do this, you go to your projects page, open the repository that has your Godot code. In this case, we're going to use my own Godot fork, and click the Want button. In here, you will have to confirm that this repository contains the Godot code. So Godot, and this also adds some default values like the default branch and the Git repository. Click confirm. This will create a matrix that we will need to configure for your Godot project. In here, we are going to first configure the variables that are shared across all builds. We will then add different builds, but let's first configure the common variable. You click the cog icon. And let's first understand a little bit what we need to do. In order to compile Godot with PCK encryption, we need to add an environment variable that is called a script AAS encryption key. This is taken from the Godot documentation, the official documentation. You copy the variable name and you go to the matrix configuration and click enable environment variables. This is special because W4Build, it will treat the environment variables as secrets, so they are securely stored. You click add, and in here you are going to type the variable name. The variable value, you can use several tools to create it, but also W4Build has a way to create an AES 256-bit key. You click, you configure the environment variable. Please save this value that we are going to use it later because we are going to use it to encrypt the Godot export templates, and then we're going to configure the build matrix to use this key. So remember to copy it and save it for later. And then you click save. Once again, you click save because we are going to confirm that we want to save all these common configurations. Now, we are going to add several builds. In order to use your own Godot compilation, like a special Godot compilation, we need the Linux editor. We are also going to use the macOS template release and the Windows template release and the web HTML release. In here, you can confirm that variables are going to be used, and that is all. That's all the configuration you need to do for configuring your Godot matrix. If you want to trigger it, you click the rocket icon and click trigger. What this is going to do, if you go to the matrix events tab page, you will see 4 new builds: the Linux editor, the Windows template release, the macOS template release, and the web template release. While W4Build completes compiling Godot with PCK encryption, we can start configuring our project. In order to do this, create a Git branch, git checkout im. You don't need to use this branch name. You can use whatever branch name you desire. Now in Godot, go to project, export. Every preset that you have added here needs to configure the PCK encryption. So click. We're going to configure the PCK encryption for every preset. So let's start by adding on the Android. You go in the tab of encryption, you click encrypt exported PCK and encrypt file names and info. Now, if you were doing locally to export your game, not using W4Build, you should add the encryption key here. But we're going to leave it empty for now, and we're going to add it as an environment variable when exporting our game in W4Build. We will need to do this for all the files, for all the preset export configurations that are created in our game or that you want to include the PCK encryption. So we go to the Linux and enable both web, Windows, and macOS. Now, all of our export templates are going to use PCK encryption. You click close and save. Compiling Godot is almost done. So let's start configuring your game matrix configuration. So go to your project, click the wand icon to create a new matrix. We need to confirm that this is a game, not Godot, because we are now dealing with a game. And we are going to use the default values, and you click confirm. After this, you are redirected to the game matrix page, and now we're going to add the environment variables so we can export our game with PCK encryption. So we click the cog icon to configure the share values. Let's first select the Godot version that we're going to use. We need to use the compiled version that we just configured. So in here, you click Create Custom, and then click the matrix that we configured to use the PCK encryption. After this, we need to add the environment variable. So you click Advanced Settings, Enable Environment Variables, and click Add. If we go to Godot documentation, we see that we can add an environment variable called Godot script encryption key, and this will handle the PCK encryption key. So we are going to add that. Add the variable name, and in here, we are going to use the same value that we use on Godot. So our game and the export templates have the same PCK encryption value. Copy and paste it because you should have it stored somewhere, and then click save. After all, we have configured all the necessary values to export our game, and then click save. Let's now add a few jobs or a few builds. Since we compile Godot for Windows and macOS, so let's add those. So add a job and Windows Desktop. Click save, and let's add the macOS. Click save. We're done. That's all what you need to do for compiling Godot with PCK encryption and configuring your game with PCK encryption. Now that Godot has completed compiling, we need to trigger our game with the PCK encryption changes. For this, we need to push the changes to GitHub. So let's add it. Now, W4Build will not start a build until you open a PR. So let's do that. You get the PR URL, go to GitHub, and you can see that the changes that we only made was to enable PCK encryption and directory encryption, and you create a pull request. Doing this, GitHub will send a notification to W4Build to trigger a build with these new changes. So go to the matrix page of your project and click events. This will start a few builds. Click on the latest one and you can see that the Git SHA will match the ones that were made on the latest changes. After all the builds have completed, you will have a more secure game with the assets being encrypted. That is all. After your builds have completed, you can go into your artifacts page and you will see that we have two new game files. This one and this one. This one being for Windows desktop and this one for macOS. And that's all. You have exported your games with PCK encryption and making your games more secure because their assets are not going to be in text plain. That's all for this video. We are always looking forward to see what you build with W4Build.